proof of sabotage by government in the withdrawal of the military protection for the Speaker.
The statement from the Speaker's office emphasizes that the withdrawal of the military personnel is an attempt to gag Mr. Bakbin. It is difficult to comprehend the meaning of this.
We have more from a statement released by the caucus in which they also question certain actions of the Speaker, but the minority insists the withdrawal forms part of a desperate attempt to cripple their oversight role and forcefully push through government business.
Trying to intimidate the minority out of their difficulties, but this is not going to change anything. In fact, it makes us even more resolute.
We'll hear from both sides and speak to an analyst. Top Story is brought to you by Vodafone. Together we can. My name is Ernest Menun. Tonight, the majority caucus in Parliament has fired back at their colleagues on the other side, demanding proof of claims of sabotage by government in the withdrawal of the military protection for the Speaker, Alban Badbin. Now, this comes in the wake of a leaked document from the Ghanaian forces directing the withdrawal of some 4 soldiers from the office of the Speaker because they were assigned their quote without proper procedure. Now, the minority is claiming that the move is calculated to weaken the Speaker in his persistent bid to impartially and independently steer the affairs of Parliament. Leader of the side, Haruna Idrisu, says the action is cruel and ugly. He warns the development could affect consensus building in the House.
I wish to express the profound indignation and disappointment of the NDC minority in the directive by the Ghana Armed Forces and by extension the executive arm of government to withdraw the military personnel providing for the safety and security of Right Honorable Speaker Alban Bakbin. The action is not only cruel and discriminatory, but does not augur well for the unity of the state and for the stability of the republic. I'm utterly disappointed in the Ghana Armed Forces, who ought to live above reproach, and utterly disappointed in the Minister for Defense and the Executive President for sanctioning such an action. For what gain? For what political gain? It's not healthy for our democracy, and not when you are seeking to build a consensus. You engage in this show of brute force. It's ugly for our democracy. The developments are not good at all. And you expect that tomorrow you come saying that you want to build consensus. Consensus with whom? What is even more worrying is the fact that ministers of state have provided military guards and supported by soldiers, chief executive officers, even chairpersons of commission have 4, 5, 6, 7 military personnel around them. And we cannot have this for the third most important person of our republic, the Speaker of Parliament. That's cruel, that's inhumane, and that's discriminatory. We would not countenance these discriminatory actions of the executive intended to gag or intended to weaken the political minority, to weaken the political opposition, to serve what gains. The Ghana Armed Forces is a state institution, and one expects that they would know that they owe the high public officer, Right Honorable Speaker Alban Bakbin, a duty of care and a standard of care in respect of his safety and security. He is simply not ordinary. And same courtesies, privileges, and facilities that are extended to the president, the vice president, same ought to be installed for the protection of the speaker. I'm utterly disappointed.
So that's the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, there, speaking to us on this development. And we'll delve more into this shortly. We'll bring you details of that statement issued by the Majority Caucus in response to this. But there's also another development involving a member of the minority. I'm talking about Kezola Tuforsen, who is the ranking member on the Finance Committee of Parliament. He was in court today after being charged with causing financial loss to the state in the purchase of ambulances in the NDC administration. We are learning from our court correspondent that case has been adjourned. But outside of court, the majority chief with Muntaka Mubarak says they're learning of a series of actions lined up by government simply to frustrate the minority side. Remember that earlier, Atuforsen himself had accused the Attorney General of weaponizing the power given to him to litigate.
More than vindictiveness, trying to intimidate the minority out of their difficulties. But this is not going to change anything. In fact, it makes us even more resolute. Because we know that, the game is to intimidate, to frustrate, and to think that they can weaken our spirit. No, they can't. In fact, they are rather strengthening and gluing us together. Because you will draw speakers, this thing, you are bringing Atuforsen to court, you are charging Dominic Enyini because of Zuarungu market, that has to do with this assembly. You are bringing Kwesi, criminalizing him when he wrote a letter to electoral commission before he filed. You are charging Akotia MP. You can just see the frustration. And it's so shameful that they forget that there's a democracy. And unfortunately, this is being led by so-called learned. As far as we are concerned, no, but believe me, they are rather strengthening us because now they are making us even glued together. Now we know that every one of us is in danger. So it's better we glue together. And I can tell them they can choose to withdraw all the security that follow all the 137 of us. They can choose to even take all our salary because they think they are in the executive. But believe me, it is rather going to strengthen us. But they remember, nothing lasts forever.
So Muntaka Mubarak there, the majority chief, was speaking to court correspondent Joseph Akable. And so to the issue of the withdrawal of the security detail, the military protection for the speaker, now there's a letter that has been leaked, which Joy News has a copy of, communicating the deployment of the 4 military officers to the speaker. But we've also seen another letter communicating the withdrawal. My colleague Bless Suga joins me in the studio with details of that statement. Bless, what does it say?
Ernest, so we first of all have to give a background to this. We all know that about a year ago, the Speaker of Parliament wrote a letter to the Ghana Armed Forces demanding some security support, asking for more personnel to be made available to his office so he would be able to be assured of his full security. After a year, we are learning that the Ghana Armed Forces is also writing to the Speaker again, asking him to withdraw the services of these 3 or 4 military personnel that are involved in this. And there's a letter to that effect. It took effect about 3 days ago. It's dated the 11th of January 2022, and it's a letter written to the office of the Honorable Alban Kingsford Sumana Bagbin. It's written by Major General N.P. Andor, who's supposed to be the chief of army staff. This is a copy of the leaked document that we have now, and portions of that letter indicate that the undernamed military personnel were attached to the office of the Right Honourable Speaker. However, that was not done through proper procedure.
Exactly.
That's the word that the statement is, or the letter is using. And the military personnel involved include WO1 Jafaru Bunwura. We also know about WO2 Apugabi Awini David. There is also Sergeant Agley Prosper, who's been detached from the Ghana Armed Forces to provide security support to the Speaker of Parliament. We also have Sergeant Bonnie Prince, who's also part of the 4 personnel who were deployed from the Ghana Armed Forces to provide security support to the office of the Speaker of Parliament. But the letter here is indicating that they are requesting that these personnel be withdrawn with effect from the 14th of January. So which means that we're 3 days away from that order that is coming through from the Ghana Armed Forces. So as we speak now, these four individuals that we've mentioned would no longer be on secondment to the Speaker of Parliament.
So now, following that leakage, the National Security Ministry yesterday, I believe, issued a statement clarifying the position or the decision by the Military High Command to withdraw these men. What does the statement say?
Well, so the National Security Ministry is concerned about how the content has gone viral with some misrepresentation. The statement indicates that a lot of people have misconstrued the withdrawal of the personnel as an attempt by the executive arm of government to deprive the Speaker of Parliament of the required resources for his full protection. Now, the statement continues to indicate that the Ministry of National Security would like to place on record that contrary to the aforementioned representation, all requisite resources, including logistics and personnel required for the full protection of the Speaker, have been provided. Now, they go ahead to talk about the fact that it is worth noting that for the first time since 2017, the security arrangements for both the Speaker of Parliament and members of the House have been significantly enhanced. And then they go ahead to provide details stating that personnel of the Ghana Armed Forces do not form any part of the security detail for the Speaker of Parliament. So what this means is that the normal procedure is that the Ghana Police Service and personnel within that unit are mostly deployed to provide security support for the Speaker. So it's unusual for you to find the military providing support for the Speaker. It's only based on needs assessment, as this statement from the National Security Ministry is indicating.
And the statement ends by saying that, to reiterate, there has neither been a withdrawal of the security detail for the Speaker nor a reduction in the security strength of Parliament. The good people of Ghana are therefore entreated to disregard any unfounded speculation to this effect. Bless, thank you very much for bringing us those details. And we'll get shortly into the response by the majority caucus to this development and to the claims being made by their colleagues on the other side. By joining us on the phone is my colleague, presidential correspondent Elton Brobe, because we're learning of circumstances surrounding the request that was made by the Speaker, first of all, to the Military High Command. And as you've seen in this statement, as we've told you, the military, the National Security Ministry insists that it is not part of the regular or normal arrangement for military persons to be deployed to Parliament. But what happened? Elton joins us with that information. Elton, what do we know about this? Hello, Elton. Hello, Elton, can you hear me? Well, we seem not to have the attention of my colleague Elton Brobe on the line. We'll correct that and bring that to you shortly. Elton has some information regarding the circumstances surrounding that request that was made by the Speaker of Parliament to the Military High Command, for which, that request was granted, and now we're hearing of the withdrawal. We'll bring you those details, but let's go to the other phone lines now and speak to Adam Bona. Mr. Bona, I'm grateful for your time here on Top Story. We're seeing the withdrawal of the military from the protection of the Speaker. What do you make of this move?
Well, yes, good evening, Ernest. Well, as far as I'm concerned, I personally, and in terms of security, I don't see anything wrong with the withdrawal of the military officers who were probably helping provide security for the Speaker. As far as I'm concerned, military officers don't have any speciality when it comes to better than police officers when it comes to providing security internally than the police. And so for me, that argument of threats, I would have wished that this conversation, we don't have it at all. But unfortunately, some information got leaked. I would want to maintain, and I've written and I've spoken extensively about the reasons why the military should be kept in the barracks and perform military functions, and the reasons why the police must perform policing functions. You cannot use the military to perform the work of the police, and the vice, the other way around is true. And so I'm concerned, either we've been trying to undermine the police and lower their, whatever we are supposed to be giving them, or else. I don't understand why we seem to be pushing the military to perform functions that are solely the preserve of the police. I don't get it. So as far as I'm concerned, that conversation shouldn't have come up at all. The police have an anti-terrorism unit. They have their SWAT unit. They have all the units you can think about. So if you deploy the military around a certain person, is it going to be because you need bomb disposal experts or what?
Well, Mr.
It's
Bona,
not to undermine the conversation. But the speaker is a brother, and I would say that as far as I'm concerned, the police can provide the speaker, the EC chair, the honorable dummy, the AG, and all these people. Adequate security.
Well, Mr. Bona, if you could just hold the line for me. We're learning some more about the circumstances surrounding that request made by the speaker, and then I'll come to you. You think that the police can adequately deal with this, but we've seen collaborations with the military on special operations. After we've learned from my colleague Elton Brobe, who joins me now, I'll take your opinion on whether the reason for the deployment is justified in the first place. Elton, what can you tell us about why the speaker put in this request?
We've been trying to get answers to these questions. We've been speaking to some people close to the Ghana Armed Forces and also the Square. The Square, as you know, is the Ministry of Defense. Now, what we've been told is that somewhere around January, when the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament took office, he spoke to the military hierarchy about the need for certain specialized protection for himself, because he made it clear that he will be traveling occasionally to his home region of the Upper West region and to his area, the Nandoli Kalio. And he also raised issue about the insurgency activities in that part of the country. So he was concerned about his safety, and he thought that the military could do a more enhanced job at protecting him. So he made a request for some military attachment together to work hand in hand with the police arrangement that has been put at his disposal by the Ghana Police Service. So it was based on this that there was this collaboration between his office, that's the clerk's office, and the military, top brass. And that resulted in the deployment of these 4 officers to work closely with the police personnel to provide adequate protection for the Speaker of Parliament. Now, what we've been told is that the military high command will occasionally review security arrangements, whether there is the need to continue with the arrangement, looking at the security threats to the Speaker or any other person who is provided with military protection. And it was based on this that they did a review and decided to undertake the action that now become a matter of public concern. As they are not happy with the fact that matter is being discussed in the open, because they were dealing directly with the clerk's office and the speaker, and they are not happy that even the names of the military personnel are out there in the public, thereby compromising their stature in the army. This will be playing them into the hands of politicians as of now. But for now, according to them, they've not done anything wrong. They have assessed the situation on the ground. They've done a review of the security arrangement for the speaker, and they can say that once the request is streamlined, they may send some men to the speaker's office, or they may allow the status quo to prevail.
Elton, thank you very much for bringing us those details on what we are learning more about the withdrawal of the military officers from the protection of the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Badbin. We still have Adam Bona on the line. Mr. Bona, so this is some extra information we are getting now about why the request was put in, why it was granted in the first place, and now the withdrawal. I guess it plays into what you're saying, that a review has been done, and they do not believe that it is prudent to keep these men there. Do you think it's a matter of timing and communication?
Well, I think it's a matter of timing, because I have heard, politicians speak about what is going on in Parliament, and probably also aiding what's helping the soldiers to say, okay, we are withdrawing your military details around you. As far as I'm concerned, gives much clarity to those discussions, and probably whoever leaked this should bow down his head in shame. And I would hope that the national security would do a bit more investigation into who leaked it, and if the person is arrested, punished. But I still maintain that military officers cannot perform the function of police officers, and the police can't do the work of the military. So let's separate them. Military should provide, ensure that our territorial integrity is in check. The police should take care of our internal security. Simplicity. But you see, we use them as at when we want. Musicians, they are following musicians, they are following politicians. It's an affront to what the military is supposed to be doing. So, Ernest, as far as I'm concerned, I think that if we think the police are not adequately resourced, let's resource them. But this cheap way of trying to provide security is not the best.
Very well. Thank you very much. That's security analyst Adam Bonada joining us on this development. So that's on the security side. There's also the politics of it, the timing, the communication, and how the minority is receiving this. The majority has issued a statement attacking the claims of the minority on this issue. My colleague Bless Suga joins me again in the studio with details of that statement. Bless, what does it say?
Well, Ernest, it's quite a lengthy statement, but the details that we can bring out from the statement that we're receiving from the majority caucus, part of the highlights indicates that the majority side of the House is alarmed at the fact that the Speaker has the largest number of security personnel for his protection that none of the previous speakers have ever had. Now, then they continue to provide a breakdown of the number of police protection, that the number of policemen that have been deployed to support the Speaker of Parliament. They talk about, first of all, the fact that the Speaker has 4 police officers in his known residence. So that's the first set. He also has 3 police officers in his secretariat, and also has 5 other police officers in and around the Speaker's office block, and that is present on a daily basis. So in all, the majority believes that when you put that number together, no speaker in the history of the Republic of Ghana has such a large number of security detail.
Now, portions of that statement, if you take from the 6th paragraph, it says that the Speaker of Parliament, in terms of precedence, is the 3rd gentleman of the land, and one expects that when he's exiting the jurisdiction, he must inform the presidency ahead of time. Now, since the Speaker is the 3rd person to act as president in the absence of the president and the vice president, in all the many travels of the Speaker in 2021, he did not find it worthy to inform the office of the president. What is the import of that? And this is completely different from the conversation we are having tonight, which is why the politics of this is also very important.
And that's not the only angle they are introducing to this. You recall the eve of the end of the session for the 7th Parliament, ushering in the 8th Parliament. The majority has sought to reignite that debate about whether or not it was appropriate for the military personnel to be deployed into the chamber.
Because at the time, the minority raised issue with
precisely.
What are they saying now? What is the majority saying?
On point 7, and they indicate that on January 7, 2021, in response to an invitation to ensure peace in Parliament, the military entered the grounds of Parliament. The minority caucus subsequently raised issues about the intervention of the military, whereas they had condemned the military less than 2 weeks to the January 7 incident. Then we have the Speaker instructing the clerk of the House to procure the services of the military. So they believe that that's double standards on the part of the Speaker and the minority caucus as well.
Bless, thank you very much for bringing us those details. And we'll publish the full statement on myjoyonline.com. You can go there and read for yourself. But join us is political scientist at the University of Ghana, Dr. Alidu Seidu. Mr. Seidu, we're grateful that you could join us here on Top Story. We've seen this back and forth between the Speaker, the minority on one side, and now the majority also responding, essentially defending government action. What is your reading into this? Does the minority have a claim to make? Is the claim legitimate when they say all of this is calculated to weaken the Speaker and also to ensure that they are weakened in their oversight role?
Thank you so much. First of all, I don't know in military terms
how the speaker's bodyguards or security details should be, and who should be in and who shouldn't be in. And I even think under normal circumstances, this should have been a top secret. We don't know how many people are contained in the president's security detail, their compositions, the vice president details, their composition, and then the speakers. Because this should be a top level secret. And whatever it is, I have read the notice from the chief of defense staff to the speaker,
yes,
asking for the withdrawal or the
staff.
recall of the military personnel. I have read the letter from the Speaker of Parliament, which was signed by the Clerk of Parliament last year, making a request for those 4 guys and then asking for 1 person to be replaced. And I've also read the letter from the Minister of National Security explaining all this. I think there are proper protocol and procedures for doing this. And if the request was made and was granted last year, why are they being withdrawn now? That is the specific question people are asking. And also people related to the fact that if the point is that the military details should not be attached to the speakers of parliament, we have other ministers, but also even heads of commissions in this country, chairpersons, who are being protected by a full military detail. And in terms of hierarchy, the Speaker of Parliament is higher than them. So how come they should have and he shouldn't have? But like I mentioned, all these security arrangements and all these things should be top level security, and we shouldn't be discussing it until this issue happens. What I want to speak to is the timing. You see, if care is not taken, a lot of interpretations are going to be read into this particular action, and that is going to have a lot of repercussions on our democracy and set a precedent that will be a difficult thing for us to reverse moving forward. So, one, since last year, since Right Honorable Abel Babin has been the Speaker, there was no need to withdraw these people. But we are in a situation where a critical levy is going to be passed. And we have seen the back and forth that was going on last year between the majority and the minority side of Parliament. So people will tend to read the meaning into the fact that if the Speaker will not allow the bill to be passed, or if the Speaker is not playing a very neutral, non-partisan role, there is a way the executive can teach him a lesson or can intimidate him. That is one particular interpretation a lot of people are bringing into it. If that is true, it will have a lot of implication on our democracy, because consensus building is usually done in a very respectful manner, in a manner that each of the parties that want to build consensus feel respected, but also feel pampered in a way, because the role of the minority in parliament as well as the role of the majority are both critical in building a consensus.
Does it seem to you that this will be, Dr. Seidu, does it seem to you that this will be addressed soon, when already in the statement by the majority they are introducing new elements completely different from the issues that are brewing?
So this is even making things murkier, and I don't think that is good. I think we need to move beyond a point where every action or inaction is given a political interpretation. That is the reason why I'm even saying that when people are saying that this is done to arm twist the Speaker and the minority, it may not be right. It may just be that in military terms, what they are doing is right. But because of the timing of the event, all these meanings are read into it. And if the minority is also coming in with a new direction, which ideally should have been more factual based, devoid of passion, devoid of partisan interest, then we are rather reducing this very important security issue of the Speaker to a rather very basic partisan issue. And this partisan posturing is what has brought us this far. I think cool heads must prevail. Partisan interests must be put aside, not put aside, minimized. But the national interest must override all decisions that we take.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ali Duseidu there. He's a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana. That's it for Top Story, brought to you by Vodafone. Together we can.